All right, welcome to episode 16 of the At Bat Baseball podcast presented by War Media, where we give you our thoughts on the latest Chicago baseball news as well as take a trip around the league. My name is Saul Rodriguez. I'm with Miles Porter. How are we doing today, man?
Doing good, doing good. Great All Star news this weekend. The past few days, a lot of fun proceedings have taken place so far. We didn't play any games this weekend because there's a bunch of forfeits because of different reasons, but still a lot of fun baseball. So feeling good about that.
Hey, you'll take it. You'll take it. Any type of win, right?
Yeah,
Milwaukee
exactly.
Jaguars obviously have been on a roll this year, so
Yeah,
why
we'll
not?
take that.
Why not? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, it's been awesome All-Star week so far. But the week for individual Chicago teams was actually at least for when we're talking White Sox, not bad. The Cubs, just it is what it is. It is what the season has been for the Cubs. Disappointing again. And we'll start off with the Cubs. We'll rip off the Band-Aid real quick. They snap a 9-game losing streak. On Sunday against the Mets. But they still ended up losing uh, getting swept by the Orioles 2-0 in that series, and then losing a series to the Mets 3-1. They're 35-57 at the break. Um, in July, they're overall 5-11. So I mean, it's just been just same old for the Cubs. In that Orioles series, I think we got a peek of what everyone's been talking about and what everyone's been watching with the 2022 Orioles. You're young and just flat out good. I mean, they got really a lot of good pieces and a lot of young players that are hungry. It looks like they could easily make a wild card race. Or at least a wild card run, I should say. And what did you see in that series in that Orioles one, real quick? What kind of players or what players stood out from that series from the Orioles, and what kind of made you go, dang?
Yeah, overall, I think just kind of I think it was kind of cool to see Adley Rutschman kind of have his moment at Wrigley. But really he wasn't like the main standout player. But I think just in general, and I can't remember who was pitching that series, but it's just they just overall were in control of the Cubs during that series. So and it was very similar for when the Mets came to town, but the Mets was a little bit more of a brutal beating. Um, I look at this Orioles team and I'm looking at the stats right now as we're talking. This is a team that is just riding on such a high. Um, I honestly in game one, I thought the Cubs were going to get to Jordan Lyles. Me personally, I thought they were going to get to him, but he pitched a great game. That's I think in general that's what really stood out. The pitching, they only held the Cubs, so I think like 3-1, 3 runs that series. It was 4-2 and then 7-1.
Yeah,
Not a lot of offense from the North Siders, and the Orioles recognized that and they took advantage of it. So I think that was a pretty solid group effort by the pitching staff. Offensively, everything spoke for itself that series.
yeah, and like the thing is, they have a lot of young arms, and people have still been talking about what they're gonna do at the deadline, the Orioles, and I mean
Yeah,
they could do a lot. I mean they could still sell, like not necessarily sell because they're not the type of players like Wilson or whatever, but like get rid of like maybe like a Jordan Lyles and still be able to pick up maybe like some prospects. Nothing crazy, obviously not a big haul, but they'd be able to still lose some pieces and I know make a run at the same time. But yeah, that Met series honestly was it really showed how good the Mets are in general. Like, they're able to stay in games, able to, to win close games and come from behind and win those extra inning games. The Cubs played them well for the last 3 games of the series. The first one, obviously, it was 8-0. The Mets got to Keegan Thompson. But the rest of the series, Cubs were able to hold their own, and two of those games went to extra innings, and the Mets were just able to squeak by. So yeah, I mean, some of the we got to see some of the pieces, some of the all stars for the Mets, like Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, like those guys. And not one guy went off at all. I mean, Francisco Lindor, of course, has been not up to par. In general as a Met. And we got to see a little bit of that in this series. But yeah, so the Cubs, they obviously did not have a great week, but they go into the first half of the season. I mean, we expected this. It's not a surprise, obviously, at all of what the season has come to. Um, But has there been any positives? Like, would you say like what have been the positives for you at the break so far?
Yeah, I think if we kind of like not if we don't look at game one of that Cubs Mets series, I'm actually very proud of this pitching staff. Um, I was at game one on Saturday. I think Stroman pitched absolutely phenomenal. I really do. I think he went four and a thirds, giving up a hit, six strikeouts. Come on now, I'm loving that start by him. I really, it's interesting with the Cubs because if we are not pitching well, we are hitting, and then if we're not, hitting, you know what I mean. And if we flip flop that, then it's never just in the middle. We're never just kind of leveled out a little bit. But take it away from not looking at the first game of this series, the pitching was very well. The staff threw very well. Like you said, not a lot of players were hot. No, there were not really any Mets players that came to Wrigley and stood out too much. There was a lot of small ball going on, especially during that weekend. There was a lot of small ball with two extra inning games. Um, and then the game on Sunday, I'm happy that they're finally able to squeak across, get a win. We were able to get one out of there, but pitching was great. Timely hitting, and that's really the name of the game. There's really nothing that stood out. It was really good baseball, honestly. Even though they were losing a lot of games, some really fun baseball to watch this weekend. Even though we didn't come out on top the way we'd like to most of the time.
Yeah, and I mean it just kind of yeah, and that type of series, and we've seen it a lot, kind of encapsulates the first half of the Cubs in like the way that um they have had a bad record, but when it comes to bad teams, when you compare them to other bad teams, they're actually not that bad when it comes, especially when it comes to offense, I should say. Pitching has probably been their worst thing, obviously, but when it comes to hitting, they've been middle of the pack. When you look at stats for teams like weighted runs created plus, and stuff like that. So, um, it's that was when I've seen that when they were like I think they're like 15th right now in the majors. It's surprising. But I guess when you look at the type of guys they have in their lineup, like we talked about this before, like say a Suzuki, Ian Happ, Wilson Contreras, now Nico Horner, who's been hot. Really, I guess it makes sense. So, but yeah, it's just it's been they've been unable to pitch consistently, and that's really what's hurt them. Because I think if their pitching would have been, if Stroman would have been on point the whole year and been healthy, then maybe they're in the spot like the Diamondbacks where they're like 6 games back from a wild card spot or something like that. So, yeah, it's been this basically what the first place or sorry what the first half was for the Cubs. The second half now is really interesting in the sense of there's some key games, some key series that I guess will allow the Cubs to be spoilers, but at the same time really matter for draft picks and stuff. But the game in August that I think we'll be watching for sure is that August 11th Field of Dreams game. That's something to look forward to against the Reds. And then it's actually funny because the Reds and the Cubs, they finished the season on a 6-game series. It's three at home for the Cubs and 3 at home for Cincinnati. So it's really it's probably going to be a battle for last place in the NL Central because the Pirates really look primed to finish third. Where the Cubs are 3.5 games back of them. And that's another team that has been pretty good offensively, but just been the pitching has been the problem. But yeah, it looks like the Cubs and the Reds are really going to be battling for who finishes last. But yeah, and obviously the Cubs have played the Brewers good. They've played the Cardinals good. They've played the top 2 teams in the NL Central, so they have the opportunity to play spoiler. And I think they'll be able to do a good job of that. So it's going to be really, really fascinating to see down the stretch how the Cubs, handle that. It's basically like their postseason. So it'll be a cool way to end the season. As far as All-Star Week for the Cubs this week, what players made impact and whatnot. Obviously, we're recording this on a Tuesday. The All-Star game is tonight. The Home Run Derby was yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about that in a sec. But in the Futures game, Pete Crow Armstrong, who had a great mic up session, was 1 for 2 with a two-bagger and a run. But man, I mean that's one of those things that uh, it kind of excites you for the future too, and it's kind of funny because so the Cubs lose that series to the Mets, right? But Pete Crow Armstrong obviously came from the Mets and the Javi Baez trade, so that when the Cubs lost, I think the third game or I think something like that, they pinned the Pete Crow Armstrong a double in on their Twitter. I'm just like, man, that was petty, but I love it because Cubs hanging on to any type of positives they can right now. But yeah, that futures game was pretty cool, and it's just like seeing other talent in there, and we'll get to the White Sox one in a second. But the draft went down, which I thought was I think it's a cool thing that they do now at the All-Star break. Doing that in the same place as the All-Star game. So the Cubs stocked up on pitching. And for example, Cade Horton. I know everyone was going crazy over this guy because he rose fast after a great showing at the College World Series with Oklahoma. And actually, they drafted also Mark McGwire's son, and he's a prep righty. His name is Mason McGuire. He coming out of high school, but yeah, that's actually kind of funny because obviously Mark McGwire coming from or being from the Cardinals, and seeing his son now being on the Cubs. If and when his son makes it to the big leagues, that'll be really funny to see him in a Cubs uniform. But yeah, now looking ahead at what type of moves the Cubs will make at the deadline. Do you think has anything changed, or really it's really just going to be everyone focusing on Wilson and guys like Ian Happ and stuff like that? What are you like? I guess what are your thoughts finally going into the second half and what the Cubs might do now with their roster?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just get ready for some change to come. Um, I also believe there still is a small chance that Wilson uh, stays with the Cubs and kind of use him as a building piece. I think they've gone about building their system well in terms of now we've talked about pitching a little much more during this draft. Um, I think it's important that there's going to be a lot of speculation going into it, and I think last year it was kind of inevitable. We knew it was coming. Um, Wilson making this very clear this year, very public, that he doesn't want to leave and he would love for them to build around him. I think that is something that is so powerful. Um, and so we'll see what happens. Same thing with Ian Happ. Ian Happ is still very young. Um, that's a player who I think the Cubs should also think about. Okay, maybe we should be building around these two. But especially with them both being all stars, I think there's a lot that you can get back for them. But I don't. I'm hoping the Cubs don't completely jump ship. We just completely get rid of everyone, and then for the next few years, it's already gonna be tough. It's already been tough. I don't know how much more necessary it is to make it even harder for fans to watch. You have to make it somewhat bearable, give fans something to hold on to, and with Wilson and Ian. Um, so that's really my opinion going into it. Let's say they do get rid of both of these guys. I hope whoever we get back in return can make an impact a year or two down the line, and we don't have to wait like 3 or 5 years from now. Hopefully, it's an immediate impact because this is a big drop off that we're looking at potentially happens. So we'll see what happens, and whatever does happen, we'll us as fans we'll all still be at the stadium. We'll all still cheer for our team. But just give people something to hold on to. That's my big thing right now.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely going to be the big storyline in the second half for the Cubs, just because where they're at in the race and what their fate is for this season. Um, but yeah, no, I mean it's the thing is, and I've said it before, is that it would be nice if like they decided, hey, let's trade Wilson, but let's keep Ian Happ and extend him. I mean, he would just be at the end of the day cheaper and yeah, like you said, younger than Wilson. So it would be a nice vet, somebody else like with to pair. I mean, I don't know how much longer Hayward's gonna be on the club, but obviously people love that guy. So him and Happ on the team, it's great to have those type of teammates on the roster. So it would be a nice surprise if they kept him, but yeah, I just see the Cubs like selling high, um, especially him as an all star helped out a lot. So. And the thing is, the outfielder market has kind of slimmed down a little bit, especially with situations kind of like with Andrew Benintendi and the whole vaccination stuff. So it might uh it might allow the Cubs to get a bigger haul now for a guy like Ian Happ, um, which I guess might help out in the situation how you're saying that you want to see a guy maybe in like 1 to 2 years. I think that would help out a lot. So yeah, so the Cubs, like I said, 37 and 50, 35 and 57 at the half. Hopefully, there's obviously better days, but hopefully they can finish off, strong guys like Nico Horner, Seiya Suzuki. Those guys are if Ian Happ stays, or those guys make the Cubs worth watching. So hopefully everything goes well for them in the second half. They start the second half with a series, 3 against the Phillies and 2 against the Pirates. Actually, start next week. So now we'll shift over to the White Sox, who they had a positive week. I think as positive as you can get for a team like in their position. They're 46 and 46 at the half, which I think is a good thing. With the way their season has been going, they split a series at Cleveland and then they win one at Minnesota, which is gigantic, I think, for them. Not only for the race, but confidence wise, they found some life. This AL Central Gauntlet, which we talked about, was going to be an enormous test for this team. It was a 15 game stretch, all versus AL Central opponents. It was 3 versus Minnesota, 4 versus Detroit, 4 versus Cleveland, and then 4 more in Minnesota to end the first half. And the Sox finished with a record of 8-7. And I think for with with all the rumors of the clubhouse being not on good terms and all this negative stuff, I think 8-7 is a positive. All 3 wins against the Twins were convincing wins. They're 12, with that 12-2 win, another Johnny Cueto, gem. That 6-2 win behind a bounce back start from Kopech. Their offense from Tim Anderson and Adam Engel. Cease with an all-star worthy, performance again. Unfortunately didn't make it, but he had 7 shutout innings, 8 Ks, and that 11-0 win. Plenty of positive takeaways for the week, but especially for that Twin series. What do you think that series will do for the White Sox now heading into the second half?
Oh my gosh, that's the spark they needed. I think they got off to a little bit of a staggered start when it came to this road stretch going into the All-Star break. But for them to split with the Guardians and then take 3 or 4 from the Twins, that's huge. That is so huge. That's a lot of good momentum going into this next part of the season. In my opinion, one of the most fun parts of the season. This is when baseball gets real. And it's been real for the Sox this entire season. So they got some good momentum coming in. I know that they have had a tough time against the Guardians this year. There's no secret. But there's some good momentum after splitting their last series with them, and now with this team coming into Chicago, they can really take care of business. They can really take care of business with 4 games against them, 2 games on Saturday, obviously Friday, Sunday. They have a lot good going for them. And then on top of that, you got the Rockies for 2 games after that in Colorado. Go ahead and put the ball in the air and just watch it fly at that point. Then you got a struggling Athletics team to finish out July. So they have a lot of good going for them. I think it's important that they take care of business, like I've always been saying, against those divisional teams, and then beat the teams that you know that you should be beating. You should beat the Rockies. You should beat the Athletics. No secret when it comes to that. So I would say like the most pivotal games now is anything in their division. They gotta get over that 500 hump and just stay there. They have to stay there. Keep that momentum. Don't change a thing. So there's a lot of good going for the White Sox right now. And if I'm a Sox fan, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good right now. I'm like, okay, cool. Here we go. And let me correct myself. They are at 500 right now. They're right there. They're right there. Keep on trucking along. The season's far from over for them. I think it's important that they finish as strong as possible, and I think that they'll be in good shape. I still think that division is up for grabs between those top three teams. So, yeah,
Yeah, and like that, it's definitely a confidence booster on all the way around, like for fans and all that. And it's a clean slate going into the second half,
yeah,
especially at 500. And especially with the where the Sox are at, like or their positioning, 3 games out, it's nothing. Like with the whole second half to go, and not only that, but when you look at the wild card standings, they sit at, let's see, 3.5 games out. So they're in the thick of it, wild card race and the division. Though I think they have still a strong chance. It's going to be a really tough go when it comes to the wild card, but they could definitely do that the Central. And what it's going to come down to. And we said this before. It's going to come down to the moves that the Twins make, the moves that the Guardians make. Because if the Twins go out there and say the Twins go out there and get Luis Castillo, that changes everything, right? Like that, puts a big dent in the Sox. They have to go get someone, or if the Sox could always stay pat, wait for the guys to get healthy. Um, but I feel like we've been doing that all season, so it's one thing it's going to be a big question. And I mean, it's really just also it's still people talking about like Tony La Russa, and like would that be their big or not acquisition, but their big move at the deadline would be, hey, let Tony La Russa go now. You know what I mean? And like maybe that's the move they need to jumpstart their season at go on a late run. Obviously, we both think he's gonna last the whole season. I think it's just the way it's gonna be. I think he's gonna last through the whole season. Unfortunately for the Sox, so we'll see what happens there. For the second half, though, it's actually a favorable second half. When it comes to like the teams that they face. A lot of the teams are under 500. As you said, the A's, the Rockies, whatever. But the season's that really in the Sox hands, because when you look at the ending, for example, the ending of their season, that 6 out of their last 9 are against Minnesota. So they're going to have a big opportunity, especially late in the season, to determine to handle their own fate. And it's going to be the races that as you say, it's going to be really intense. This is where baseball gets good. And the thing is, we're talking about these teams now, and but maybe look back in 2 to 3 weeks, and they look completely different. And we'll get to Juan Soto, but he's going to change the whole landscape if he gets traded, for sure. Another thing, a couple other notes. Liam Hendricks made the All-Star team, also deserving over the weekend. He's bounced back. I mean, we were talking about his struggles in April and May, and he's really come back and been the Liam Hendricks of old. In the futures game, the Sox had another star who should be coming up real soon. It's Oscar Colas. He went 1 for 2. He also had a diving catch in the 5th inning to rob Darren Baker, Dusty Baker's son. So that was pretty cool. The AL ended up winning that game 6-4. In the draft, as you said, the Cubs stacked up on arms, and so did the Sox. I mean, they drafted, I think, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, six pitchers also. So and their main one, the one that made most headlines, was, of course, Illinois native left-handed pitcher Nate Schultz. He is coming out of Oswego East High School. And he's a 6'9" pitcher, 220, very lanky. And we all know how lanky pitchers, especially lefty lanky pitchers, have gone for the Sox lately. Chris Sale. So hopefully they can come up with another gem like that. But yeah, no, the Sox, head into the second half of the season, 46-46, and hopefully he may go on a run. And of course, they start the second half with 4 against Cleveland, and as you said, 2 at Colorado. It'll be another interesting run. Especially as you said with the offense that can happen in Colorado. But hopefully the White Sox have turned for the best now. We'll go now. We'll switch over to around the league, and of course, we're in the middle of the All-Star week. Like I said, this is being recorded on Tuesday. By the time this airs, it'll be post All-Star game, but we'll talk about that in the next episode. For the home run derby, man, what did you think last night? I mean, I think it definitely didn't go as I expected.
Yeah,
But it was of a pleasant surprise. Of course, Juan Soto won. He beat out Julio Rodriguez in the final. But yeah, what did you take away from that last time, man?
that was fun. I I thought it was. Honestly, my favorite moment was when Pujols beat out Schwarber. And Schwarber just started bowing to him like, "Hey, you're the goat, man. Hey, you know what? You got it on this one." Um, it was fun. I think it was a very fun home run derby. I think it's interesting for Julio Rodriguez had what 81 home runs in total.
Mhm. Yeah.
Interesting. It's very interesting to me, but he still lost because the last round is
Mhm.
it's his own beast. That's just his total for the entire thing. Um, that's just awesome. It's just awesome. These guys are such physical just players. These guys are so strong. Um, I didn't realize how big Pete Alonso was until I saw him in person. Um, that is a very large human. Uh, I think he had a home run yesterday. What was like 481 feet or something?
It
He
was so
hit it very
nasty.
far.
Yeah.
So it's such an awesome showcase for how talented these players are, and why they deserve to be um in the spotlight. So I each year I always enjoy it, and this year I enjoyed it. Juan Soto is just he he's the talk right now. He's definitely the conversation right now for a few reasons. But I enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed it yesterday, and I look forward to the All Star game tonight.
Yeah, I actually my pick to win it was Kyle Schwarber. So,
Yeah, yeah, same. Yeah,
yeah, okay, there you go. I was gonna ask you, yeah, but yeah, no, I was like, dude, I was like, Kyle Schwarber's got to win it. I think it's gonna be him versus Pete Alonso. If he loses, it'll be Pete Alonso winning, whatever. But yeah, that was, I mean, really, I feel it looked like Schwarber was rushing through that, and like it would just hitting pop ups and going oppo on some of them, and like it wasn't
yeah,
working out for him.
yeah,
But I mean, it was cool to see. I mean, at the end of the day, it's cool to see Pujols get his share because I mean he's a legend of legends. I mean the guy's awesome, so well
yeah,
deserved. It was a really cool moment to see obviously all the young guys, all the young all stars gather around Pujols.
yeah,
Because he deserves that. It's he's been in the game for like 20 plus years, so it's really cool to see that.
yeah.
Um,
He
and
still
yeah,
got it too. Like he
yeah,
still got it. These weren't like cheap home runs. Albert was sending these baseballs like he was hitting them hard, and it was just
and
awesome moment.
quick
Awesome.
and quick too. Like people, right?
Yeah,
People were like, and I remember because pre-game people were like, "Man, he's gonna get gassed," and then
yeah. I saw those comments. Shut
yeah,
up.
and
Shut
like
up.
and dude, he showed up. I mean, he did not like it was BP, bro, and like he was getting it done. So
He was just in
uh,
rhythm. He knew
yeah.
exactly what he. Yeah, yeah.
And the thing is also when you said Julio Rodriguez, I mean, yeah, dude, I did not. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I love that guy. I think he's one of the best players in baseball right now.
Mhm.
Did not expect that. 30
No, did not
bombs.
expect it. No,
Yeah, to hit 30 bombs in multiple rounds and to just crush like that. I mean,
that's what I was expecting from Alonzo or Schwarber.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously. So, and people were talking about Rodriguez's pitcher or the thrower, I should say, because he was throwing some cookies, but he also threw one that made a swing and miss. So like this guy throwing sliders, what was this guy
yeah.
doing in the dirt?
I was like, good
But
pitch.
yeah, but
Had good
no,
movement on it.
yeah, exactly. I know. But yeah, no, that was really cool. Of course, the All Star game is going to be really really cool also as well. They got McClanahan going against Kershaw, the hometown guy. No Trout. Some of the other notes: no Shohei Ohtani on the mound, but he'll be leading off. And we'll finish off by talking about you mentioned Soto. We talked about him being the Home Run Derby champ this year, deservedly so. But there's been a lot of chatter about Juan Soto, about him. He turned down a $450 million deal to stay with the Nats. And now supposedly they're looking to trade him. They're open to trading him. They're listening to teams. And yeah, I mean that, like I said, could change the entire landscape. If he goes, right now I think the hottest teams that people have been talking about, the Yankees or the Dodgers. Um, yeah, I mean, it really is crazy to me because so he's a free agent after I think believe after 2025. Uh, Either before or after, sorry, but that's he probably won't re-sign with that team, or if he does re-sign with that team, it's gonna be the fat money, like it's gonna be a lot of money. I think he's probably gonna be signing for 500 mil. But whoever gets him for these next two seasons or for this the remainder of this season and next whatever, it's gonna be a lot. So they're gonna ask for a haul. And I think the most equipped team to do that is the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, they're just they have the pieces to trade, and it would be a perfect spot for him. And once again, would make the Dodgers just a video game team. Continue to make them a video game team. Like, what are your thoughts on the situation? Because I mean, it's pretty awkward. I mean, he got asked about it yesterday, and he was saying he's not. It's very unfortunate, that these things have gotten out. It makes him uncomfortable. He said, I feel bad for the guy, because he's done just about everything you can do for the city of DC. But I think I know deep down inside that he's not going to end his career there. He's not going to stay there. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of turned out unfortunate. I think you know I you know I'll say this is like there's different moving parts. So we could talk about him turning down the contract. That could be for either he if he wants more money, that's totally fair as well. And it also could be he wants to play on a competing team. Um, I don't know. I've seen a lot of comments of just him wanting more money, and I think that is very true. And I also think he does. He wants to compete. I think he wants to get back to being on a winning team because this is such a talented guy. I think there's some players, and he might be the first to start getting this. Is like just because you sign a big contract with a team, that doesn't make the team better. You're locked in. You're not going anywhere. Now it's up to the rest of the team, to the organization, to put winning pieces around you. And we're seeing what's happening with Mike Trout. We're seeing what's happening with Shohei in Los Angeles. Fernando Tatis in San Diego, in Manny Machado. Now, that's a very talented team. They're still a winning team, but they also have not played to their potential. So I think maybe this is wishful thinking, but part of me believes that he also recognizes that as well. If he does sign something big, I think the least that he wants to do is be in a better situation because I don't know if the Nationals are getting better anytime soon. So it's unfortunate, but I'm hoping that there's some sort of conclusion that's found, that some sort of resolution that's found with all this, whether he's in Washington or if he's wherever, or if he is in the Dodgers, because I think the Dodgers aren't a good team and clearly they need more good players on their team. So wherever he ends up, we'll see what happens. But it's kind of unfortunate. It's kind of unfortunate about how all this has unfolded. So hopefully, they figure out something on both ends.
Yeah, just hopefully they secure a deal that makes him happy, makes the Nationals happy, because it's gonna be it really. And I mean, even when it comes to like the Yankees could do it, but when it comes down to it, I think that the Dodgers have more talent in the minors, and major league ready that they're willing to get rid of. Which
Absolutely,
I don't think the
absolutely.
Yankees have much major league talent to get rid of.
No, no,
Um, but yeah, it's gonna be uh something to watch for in the second half. Probably the biggest storyline in the trade deadline if they're going to do it. Obviously, they could do it at after the season, but it'll be it would change everything in this whole season if they make a deal during the season now. So, but yeah, hopefully Juan Soto is able to be happy and because he deserves. I mean, he's one of the best players in baseball and one of the most fun guys to watch. So, I think he deserves to have his happy ending with any type of deal that happens here. Um, all right, that just about does it for this episode of the At Bat Baseball podcast presented by War Media. For Saul Rodriguez, that's Miles Porter. Miles, have a great week, and we hope everyone enjoys the All-Star break.